What's up, basketball coaches, players, and fans? Welcome to the Pass First podcast, where we share our knowledge of the game of basketball. My name is Augie Johnson, and I'm here with my partner, Alex Angle. We hope you're able to take something away from this podcast that will help you in your basketball journey. Today, we have a special guest. We have Coach Kirby. He's the assistant coach at Seattle University, which is a Division I school up in Washington. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. All right, you guys. So super excited for today's episode, just to have another coach on the podcast, someone that's actually coaching in college and has coached college for a few years now, quite a few years. And it's Coach Kirby, like I said in the introduction. So kind of the first question that we like to ask guests is just for a little bit of background to give us a little bit of context of where you came from and stuff. So let's just start with the quick version of you as a player.
Quick version.
Yeah, like
okay.
the history. Like where'd you, high school, all that.
Okay. Born and raised Sacramento, California. Played at Foothill High School. Senior year, won a state championship, 2003. Went to Delta College, in Stockton, junior college, and then went to Seattle University, played out here for a couple of years and got my degree. So
okay. So what year did you graduate high school?
2003.
Okay. And then college you graduated?
Well, 2008. I was a super senior.
Okay.
I'd like to say.
Yeah. So I finished my plane in 2008, but I graduated 2009. Okay. So you played at Seattle University, and I think we might have even played against each other.
I think so, man. Alex brought it up, and I'm pretty sure we came out to Monterey Bay, right?
Yeah, that's where I went, Cal State Monterey Bay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we went out there and played. Might have been a tournament, or maybe it was in Sonoma. Did you ever go to a tournament in Sonoma?
No, from my memory, I think we played you guys at, whether you were there or not that year. This was 2008 or 2007. Was that Notre Dame Namur tournament? Shout out to Raj.
Playing in that one.
But maybe
sure.
you weren't there. But I think Coach Calero was the coach at that time, which we're gonna definitely get into who that is at some point in this conversation. So okay, sure. Just because I like to know what were the numbers that you put up in high school, at Foothill, and then at Seattle?
So my senior team in high school, we were really good. I mean, we had, I think, 4 guys end up going Division I.
Wow.
Eventually, going through junior college and, but I think I averaged 15. And my high school coach was super old school. He didn't do any stats. He didn't care about none of that. The only thing he cared about was how many points they scored, overall. If we held him under, I think it was 60, 50, 58, he was happy. So 15 in high school. I would say around the same in junior college. Again, play for another really good coach in junior college at Delta for Coach Katz. We were 30-2 my sophomore year. Again, one of the guys that I played with at Foothill was really good. He ended up going to Oklahoma. So, again, we had a really, really good team. So, around the same there. And then Seattle, my junior year, I think I was averaging 10 points. And then I think I got up to about 13, overall. So, definitely had a few big games here and there overall, at Seattle. So
cool. And what position were you playing mostly throughout your career?
So, people used to always tell me I was a shooting guard trapped in a point guard's body. So I definitely scores mentality. I wanted to score first. I looked up to Michael Jordan, and that's what I wanted to be like, and that's what he did best. So, I definitely shooting guard.
That's a lot of consistency. Like, I don't know if we'd ever even talked about that, but averaging like 15, 13, like for that entire span, like most players, it's like, I averaged 20 in high school, I averaged 12 in junior college, I averaged 8. And you know what I mean? Just like as you move up, if you don't improve with the level, a lot of times the points drop. So that's really consistent. That's actually very impressive.
I never even really thought about that. I guess that's a good point. Like for me as a basketball player, like all I ever cared about was winning. So whatever it took for me to figure out how to win those games, I was going to do. If I had to guard the best player, if I had to shoot a couple more threes, if I had to, whatever it was, I was gonna, try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's probably the coolest thing about that whole story though is the state championship. I mean, that's like 1 in a million. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, I can't even imagine. And to be like a I don't know if you were the leading scorer, but to be able to put up some decent scoring on a good team like that means a lot. Like I know when I was playing in Europe, like the highest paid player in the league, I think was at the time, this is not the league I played in, but in the top league was Casey Jacobson, who played in the NBA and stuff. And he averaged like 11 points a game, but he was on the best team that never lost. So,
Yep.
that's something to always take into consideration. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We got the background on the playing. Let's get a little bit into the coaching world. So after you, I guess, finished at Seattle, you're playing. What was the next step?
So again, I talked about me being a super senior. So I was done playing in 2007, but came from junior college, and I wasn't the greatest academic guy out there. So I had another year of school to finish. So Coach Calero, thankfully, he invited me to be a student assistant coach, on the team. So I basically was a, glorified, kind of practice player. I was still in shape. I mean, I just finished playing. I knew all these guys. So I would show up to practice every day, ready to go. Like, I was, still in it. But then again, like on the other side of it, I started to get really into, the strategic, figuring out practice, figuring out how we're gonna beat teams, stuff like that. Even though I didn't travel with the teams, or with the team when they went on road trips, but I was in for a lot of the meetings, and really kind of started my thought process of like, okay, this could be fun, if I really want to get into it. So
cool. So that's kind of where you caught the bug, would you say? Where would you catch where'd you catch the coaching?
Nah, not that year, because I was still in college, man. I'm kind of in party mode. It's not settled down whatsoever. I was not ready to be a coach at that point. Now, I would say, so my first real coaching job was at Shoreline Community College out here in Seattle, just north of Seattle. And my second year, I coached with Butch Estes. He's a hell of a coach. He's been coaching for, I don't know, probably 40 years now at this point. Every single level. I mean, he played for Dean Smith, so that's the type of experience that I was getting, with him, being around him every single day. And my second year is when I really felt like, okay, I can do this. This is fun. Like being at practice, games every single day, really helping out kids that really reminded me of myself, when I was in junior college. So that was kind of the turning point where I would say this is what I want to do.
Cool. So the path was grad assistant, basically
student
assistant, and then and you said to a junior college after that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how about after that?
So, so at that point, my second year at Shoreline, I had been in Seattle for, I think, 5 years. And I was like, okay, I got to get back to California. I'm a California guy, man. I had to get back. I had to see my family, I had to be in some sunshine, it was a lot of stuff that I was missing. So I decided to, step away from Shoreline and go back to California. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't have anything. So what my plan was, I was going to go out there, kind of be a trainer, trying to figure out, how to move into this, move and navigate in the coaching world. And again, Coach Calero, he was at the Final Four. He sees his coach he coached at Ncaa College in the Bay Area, really close to San Francisco. And that Coach Peter Diemenbrock, who coached Jeremy Lin in high school, at Palo Alto. You need an assistant. So Coach Calero hooked me up. One thing led to the next, and I was assistant at Ncaa for a year. So and then that year, that's when after that year, I went to Cal Poly.
I got a question just because I have people, since I used to coach in California Junior College, and I've had people ask this comparison before because in Shoreline, are you guys, that was part of the NWAC, right?
Right.
What is the difference? Like, what do you think some of the differences are between the NWAC and California community colleges? Obviously, I know there's no scholarships in California, but like just talent wise, like how would you compare those two levels?
It's really similar when it comes to the talent. There's not that much difference. Even right now, I would say it's about the same. But because you're able to give a little bit of money to players out here in the Northwest, that's a little different. So compared to California junior colleges.
Right. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah. Okay. So you're at Cal Poly. That's when you meet Alex. And I think I met you once or twice up there too, for sure.
Oh, we definitely played. Yeah. We played together for sure. Yeah.
And so you're doing that. And so what was your official position there?
Assistant coach. So first got hired on, really, Coach Calero threw me into the fire. I was not ready. I had no idea what I was doing. Thankfully, I was around some really good people with, Omar Lowry and Mitch Freeman. Omar's at Butler right now as assistant, and Mitch Freeman actually just became a athletic director at Skagit Valley Community College out here in the Northwest. So again, I was around some really good people, and then you throw in Mitch Reeves, who's one of my best friends now. I was able to fail a lot. You know what I mean? And so I was really thankful for those years being around those guys.
Okay. So for anybody that's listening or watching right now, Coach Calero was the Cal Poly coach here for many years here in San Luis Obispo. And before that, he was, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the head coach at Seattle University, right? Before that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And so now you, who played at Seattle, who ended up at Cal Poly and now is back at Seattle, how did that happen? How did you get back up there?
Well, there was a former coach of mine. There was a position that opened up at Seattle. He knew Coach Hayford, and Coach Hayford asked about me. And, one thing led to the next. It just happened that way. Like the coaching business, man, you really got to know people, and the fact that there's coaches that I play for that are, in those positions of power. They know me and they know my character, and they know that I'm gonna work hard, for whoever I'm with. It just worked out, So, thank God that it kind of went that route.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so now are you the associate assistant, the
assistant? Yeah.
Okay,
assistant coach.
Job title. Cool.
Yeah.
So, this is just kind of a little side note. Like, so when I was a grad assistant at Cal State Monterey Bay, it was the year that we brought in a whole new coaching staff. There's a new head coach, a new assistant, and that assistant, it was his first time as a paid position. He had done, operations, manager spots, and he had been doing that for 6 years unpaid. So it sounds like you didn't have as much of a grind. How long was your journey of unpaid coaching gigs?
Man. So junior college, it really test you. And working at the junior college level for 3 years, I hardly got anything, especially those first 2 years at Shoreline. I mean, there was a stipend of $700, the whole year for me, for an assistant.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, obviously I had to get another job. And that other job for me was construction. I had a cousin whose best friend dad owned this construction company out here in Seattle. And so I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, going to work till about 3. We practiced at like 4, and then, for a couple hours. And so it was for 2 years straight. that was a grind for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
So.
I think Alex, you can probably relate to that. How many years were you at Cuesta?
Oh
6.
yeah.
6,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know it's kind of the same thing. Like I always try to find something else. Like, I mean, substitute teaching or training or whatever,
Yeah.
something to supplement it. Because you got to have,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said, you got to find a job that fits the coaching hours. And most jobs are 9 to 5, and usually practices aren't 5 or 6 at night. So
Right.
it can be hard to find a supplemental income that's going to also let you do what you love, which is coaching. So
100%. Yeah. I was a substitute teacher too. That was when I was at Kenyatta in the Bay Area. So that was fun.
Yeah, and I remember you mentioned that to me. I think when I first started to do the sub teaching, you had talked to me a couple times. You're like, "Hey, that's something you can do to make some money on the side, and it's real flexible." It's actually a really good spot for like up and coming coaches, I think.
For sure, man. I mean, if you want to be around kids, you still get to learn, a lot, about, kids overall, high school, whatever the case is. That was something I really enjoyed.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Okay, so if you've been listening up to this point, hopefully you have the full background, you know what's going on now. And let's go ahead and dive in kind of like the tougher questions now. So let's go. I don't know if they're tough, but this is the stuff that people really love. So let's just talk a little bit about the day in the life of an assistant at a D1 school. What's it like for you? Obviously we're in quarantine now, but like if normal, and let's just say it's March, or let's go April without this whole quarantine thing. What's the day in the life look like?
Well, depending on if we still have scholarships or not, one of my number one jobs is to recruit. So got to find players. That's the whole makeup of the program. That's the the whole heart of it. So recruiting is definitely one of the biggest things on my plate. But in April, we're doing a ton of workouts. With each kid. We at this time we've already came up with the player development plan for each guy, and we're hitting that hard. We're getting them better. We're pushing them. So, but for the most part, it's the off season. And so there is some free time, and as coaches, you got to take advantage of that free time. So.
Because the follow-up question to this is, so let's backtrack. Now you're in January.
Mm-hmm.
Now what's the difference like? What's the day in the life like then?
I mean, we usually got a couple games a week, Thursday, Saturday. So we're preparing for those. At this point, we're probably on our second go around of playing, teams in conference. So we're preparing. We're trying to win games. We're trying to make sure our guys are healthy, make sure they're good in every way, shape, possible to be able to play these games and just getting them right. So it's, we usually practice in the morning, follow up with possibly a workout later, depending on who it is, depending on how much time they play in each game. And then, they'll have weight room, be a bunch of film sessions, depending on what they need to see, what they need to learn, for the next game. So it's just a lot of preparation, to try to win these games.
Yeah, and you guys are still kind of recruiting during that time period too, right? Like obviously you're not, maybe the same as flying around. Yeah. But you're still doing all that as well.
100%. Recruiting never stops. You can literally do something for recruiting every single day if you really wanted to. You can figure out, okay, how recruiting this kid, going about it, how you can really do something every day. It's nonstop. So.
And what's that recruiting process like? Like, what is your strategy? Like, what are you looking for? Like, for me, I've never had to recruit a player, right? I've never had to reach out to a player or make a decision, say, hey, this is the guy we want, coach. Like, let's go with this guy. Like, I think that would be so hard because, I know as a player in college, our coach would bring somebody in, give him a full ride. I don't have a full ride. Why does he have and then he's not good, So how do you figure out if you really do want that kid or not?
It's a lot of work, man. You gotta do a lot of research on the kid. Hopefully you have a lot of connections to the kid. But the number one thing that we look for is the kid fit? How's his character? Is he coachable? Does he work hard? Does he want to get better? Does he want to become a pro? Is he good in the classroom? All that stuff, and then we start really diving into his background, his high school coaches, we start to really figure out, okay, how is he every day? What's his personality every single day? Is he going to come to work every day? Because the season is a grind, and it's not cut out for a lot of people. And a lot of kids don't see that. Or a lot of kids, they don't see that, through the recruiting process. They just see all the glitz and glamour of getting recruited, and, all these coaches telling them a lot of, great things, about who they are and how they play. But it's so much more than that. We have to find a guy who can handle the grind, period. So that's, it's a lot of research.
Yeah, interesting. I was gonna kind of give Alex a follow-up question here because he's done some recruiting for junior college. And how does that work? Because you can't offer a scholarship. You can't, like, I guess, you can't offer really a dorm room, stuff like that. So how does that work?
You're I think the carrot at the end of the stick that you're dangling in front of them is like, you're going to get a scholarship opportunity if you come here. That's the main thing. And you have different types of kids that come to junior college. You got some kids that they're really not ready to play yet and they need to develop. And so that's why they're at junior college. You have kids that are academics. So your thing to them is like, hey, you get your grades up, you can go somewhere. Maybe some kids that just didn't get enough exposure and they're getting, D3, NAI, D2 scholarships and they think they're a D1 guy. So that's kind of what it is. It's all that like, hey, come here, develop for 2 years, then you can get out. But you're absolutely right. Like you can't sit here and be like, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of money and a dorm room and all this like that. You don't have that. It's not glamorous at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of kind of the day in the life for you guys up at Seattle, like as far as you're concerned and from your experience as a player and coach to this point, are you guys super heavy in film? Are you moderate? Are you minimal? What would you say your level like is for how much film you guys do as a team?
Super heavy, I would say. Now, we're not super heavy when it comes to like, let's all watch it together. We break them up in groups a lot, because sometimes certain kids got to hear different things than this other kid. This other kid is doing it right, but this kid needs to learn. So it's different messages. So we do a lot of breakdown in groups.
Okay, so you actually split the kids up, and you'll have maybe like 3 or 4 come in and watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some tools that you guys use for film? Do you guys use Huddle, or what kind of stuff do you guys use?
Synergy, is probably the biggest tool. I think Synergy is one of the best things ever invented for basketball. It's just absolutely amazing.
It's pretty incredible.
I'm on it every single day. It's yeah. We also use Sports Code. That's the other one.
I've never heard of that. What's that?
So Sports Code, you kind of you take the film, you break it down. You actually take game film from Synergy, and you can put it in Sports Code, and you can break it down even further. But it's all relevant.
Okay. And this is just kind of another question about where you guys are at right now. Would you consider you guys more of a motion type team that run in motion offense, more freedom? Are you more set play? Do you have more of a continuity type offense? What kind of stuff do you guys normally do?
Definitely a lot of freedom, a lot of space. Coach Hayford wants to play fast. We're going to have shooters. We're going to have guys that can drive it. We really want a 3 or a layup. We don't shoot a lot of tough 2s. But we do want to push the ball, get a good shot. But we're not going to push the ball to where, we're going to be taking bad shots or turning it over. Like that doesn't make any sense. But we do want to get it up court and try to beat the defense down.
Cool. Do you guys normally have a rim runner, or do you guys space 5 out in the break, or what?
It really depends on who the kid is. If it's a kid that he's 6'10", but he likes to shoot threes, well, we'll probably set a little drag screen and it'll pick and pop, and we play out of that. But yeah, it all depends.
Cool. Would you consider that you guys' style of play is like more modern basketball?
For sure. Coach
Yeah,
Hayford is
threes
known
and
for positionless basketball. If you ever do some research on him and his history and what he's done offensively, it's positions. I mean, we'll have our big guy, bringing the ball up sometimes, and you might get a screen set for him. Like it really depends. We try to exploit the defense every single time down the court.
Very cool. Okay. So let's talk about family life and coaching and all that kind of stuff, because I know one of my concerns as far as chasing a college coaching job someday, Alex and I are both high school coaches currently, but is the worry of balancing family life, travel, recruiting. And I know as an assistant, the grind is elevated.
Yeah.
So what's that like? And explain to me some of the challenges.
It's one of the toughest things. First of all, just having a family is tough. You know what I mean? Like it's, having a kid, jump on you at 6 o'clock in the morning every day is crazy. But there is a balance you really got to try to figure out. For me, thankfully, I have a wife that that really understands all that, and she gets it 100%. There's gonna be times where I'm gone for 5 days, and I'm out of here. I got to go recruit, or we got to play a couple games in Texas or whatever the case is. So I think it's all about when you do have that time with your family, well, turn your phone off, get away. Let's really focus on us right now. So those times you really got to cherish and take advantage of.
Okay. Yeah. So does your wife, I don't know how long you guys been together and all that kind of stuff, but did you guys kind of start together at a time before you were coaching, during, like, what point in your life did you guys kind of take it?
Yeah. So I think it was about my third year at Cal Poly. So
okay.
I had to really let her know, like, hey, you sure you know what you're getting yourself into? Because this is this is for real. You won't see me probably for the whole month of July. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So so I had to do a lot of convincing. I guess that's one way of putting it. To really get her to understand, like, the coach's life is completely different than probably any other profession out there. And if you're willing to, go about it, I'll do everything I can to try to make this, best we can do. So I mean, thankfully she stuck with me, because it was definitely hard in the beginning.
I think a lot of people don't realize that too. It was like, it's kind of like what you said about some of the kids where they see the glitz and the glamour, and people watch basketball or college basketball, whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. And they see the 30 games on TV and they're like, oh yeah, that's super cool. Like, that's just what I want to do. And they don't understand like anything else that goes into it. Like all the hard work, the recruiting, the time away from your family. I think that's so, I don't want to say undervalued, but people don't even understand that that's part of it, because it's not on TV. So you don't think about that.
Right. I mean, even, I got a 5-year-old son now, and when he was 2 and 3, I'm leaving for, a week, and oh, Daddy, where you going? Well, I got to go work. What do you mean you got to go work? What are you talking about? You're not staying here to work? So it's now he gets it. When I say I got to work and I need my time, he understands. Oh, okay, we'll hang out after, so it was definitely tough, but wife has definitely gotten used to it, and my son is really starting to figure it out.
And I just want to kind of add as like a caveat to this, the other side of the ball too. Like, yeah, there is time away from family and stuff too, but you're also giving your family such a rich life to be able to go to games, have players around your kids, like that kind of stuff is like a lot of fun, right, for your family.
100%, man. That's one of the reasons why I'm in it. The players they're awesome, especially with my son, with my wife. super respectful, and it's it's
Yeah,
very
there's some good
enjoyable.
stuff too, right? I mean, for sure.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
like my wife, I don't even know if she would let me quit. It's just high school. I'm not away so much, but like she loves going to the games. She
yeah.
loves, getting to know the players and all that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
okay, let's talk a little, not X's and O's, but maybe more philosophy based stuff. So, what's like some offenses that you personally enjoy, or maybe a set, or maybe even just like a fast break structure, or any kind of X's and O's stuff that you could talk about that our viewers would like to hear, and me personally as well.
So kind of going back to my high school, my junior college, you know, and then even my first couple years at coaching with Coach Estes at Shoreline, we ran kind of the North Carolina break, the secondary break.
Hmm.
We even did some at Seattle U too with Coach Calero. So that was one thing that I really like, pushing the ball, trying to get a quick shot. If not, we're moving it side to side, and then obviously you got action, out of that, the back screen and cross screen. But when I was at Kenyatta, I was fortunate enough to really learn the Princeton offense with Coach Diebenbrock, and that was it blew my mind. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, uh, if you got a really good shooter and you got some bigs that can make good decisions and pass the ball, that offense is really hard to stop. I don't care who you are, unless you got a freakishly athletic team that could just switch everything. That's another story. But for the most part, man, it's if you got shooters and you got guys that can make plays, it's I love it. But the one thing that the things that we do here at Seattle U with Coach Hafer, it's the break, the dribble drive, the free flowing offense is great. When I become a head coach, I'm for sure taking all that stuff.
Very cool.
I just saw Augie's eyes light up when you said Princeton. Augie loves the
Yeah,
Princeton.
I love Princeton. So my first year as a varsity head coach, I learned all the Princeton. We installed the whole Princeton offense, which took the whole off season basically. But I know this is another conversation that I might need to have with you. But I could not get my players to back cut. As time went on, I realized my big at the high post getting catches wasn't best for us, and so we actually mid-season scrapped it and just went with this like Kansas high-low kind of offense, the 3-out-2 and stuff. And but I do love the Princeton, and I know someday that I'm going to come back to it because there's just so much cool stuff, and there's so many other offenses that are just like iterations of the Princeton. Anything that where you're getting a catch at the high post is almost like an iteration of what the Princeton offense is. But anyways, the follow-up question that I had to all this is, in your guys's fast break that you guys are running, you mentioned that you guys run a little bit of dribble drive stuff. Is it like the typical Fresno, dribble drive stuff, or is it more just giving players the freedom to drive? Do you guys have like rules in place where if I drive this gap, I have, this guy lifts or anything like that, or is it more just free?
Yeah, no, there's definitely some I guess nuances involved for sure. If you pass the ball one way, you're for sure cutting another way. If you're driving here, well, this guy has to move here. There's definitely a lot of specifics to it.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's exactly like Coach Wahlberg, and Coach Wahlberg has really changed a lot too. With his dribble drive. He's obviously a mastermind, with all that. But he it's definitely very, very similar for sure.
And so you guys run that, is that a base offense or just more like a secondary?
No, it's I would say our base. If we, time going down, or if we ran a set, then we'll, get into that. So yeah, for sure.
Do you guys run any like European continuity ball screen stuff with like the wing ball screen? Because I know Alex really likes that. So, and it seems like every school runs it, right? There's some version that every school seems like. Do you guys do any of that?
Yeah, we do. We do actually. And again, it's about personnel. We actually did it at Cal Poly for a year. I don't know if Alex was there. I don't know, but we did it. We did it at Cal Poly. We did it here at Seattle U. And again, it's about bigs and they can roll. I love it. I really love it if you got guards that can penetrate and get into the gaps and create plays. Than shooters, but spacing them out, really getting everybody open to be able to drive and make plays. Great.
Okay, let's switch the talk up a little bit and talk a little bit about defense. I'm going to go with Alex first on this one. So I already know because I know Alex, we coach together all the time, that he does not like to play a lot of zone defense. So I guess my question here is, Alex, when and if you are going to run zone, what kind of zone stuff do you like to run?
I don't like zone either. I'm going to be honest. I don't. Are you asking if I'm a head coach? Or
sure.
If I'm running zone, it's going to be against a team that can't shoot it that well. It's going to be against a team that wants to drive and get into the paint. So about closing gaps and but even then you still run the zone. Guys shoot the ball and you got to rebound. It's really tough to rebound out of zones. But probably a 2-3. With some matchup principles involved. And again, it's it all goes back to personnel, man. Who do you have on your team that not only can do the job, because more times than not, when just defensive, principles overall, you want to find guys that can do multiple things, so it's tough. I mean, definitely some 2-3, and I would throw some traps. I would throw some different stuff at teams, but it wouldn't be a normal 2-3 at all.
Okay. And what about you, Alex?
I was going to say 2-3 is probably like the pretty, traditional one. I've ran stuff in the past where we've done like, we called it a yo-yo defense, where it's like a 3-2 that switches into a 2-3, and can kind of morph. 1-3-1 sometimes, but again, it's all based on personnel. My personal, thing for people that are watching, against zone is just, I feel like it's really overdone, especially at the youth levels and the AAU level, and even in high school, where coaches would rather just be like, hey, I don't really think my players can learn man defense, or they're not that good yet. And instead of teaching them and being like, okay, let's improve, they're just like, oh, let's just sit in the zone and hope the other team can't shoot us out of it. And you can kind of get away with that in AAU and in high school because, unless you're a really good team, you don't have shooters to just shoot teams out of zone. So if you're not hitting, it can be tough. But the thing is, if you get to a higher level, once you get to college, that's all out the window. You can't just sit in the zone. Every team's going to have 4 or 5 guys that can shoot, so it's just, I just think it's kind of a cop out in my opinion. And I'm not saying never use zone, but just to sit back for 40 minutes and be like, hey, we're just going to use zone because the other team's not a great shooting team. Well, your players are never going to learn to actually play defense. And if you can't guard somebody, good luck moving on.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point. We played teams. We played Syracuse last year. We played, University of Washington. And that's all they do. If you commit to it and you're in it and you do it and that's who you are and you don't change, well then, a good chance you really get better at it. But I'm not a fan, to be honest.
And I think those teams too, and I guess I should have prefaced that way. Obviously there are teams like Syracuse and stuff that do run it in college, and I'm not going to say it doesn't work. Obviously it does, right? But the same thing is those teams are, they recruit and have the personnel to play that specific style. And that's a lot different than just, 70% of high schools and AAUs or whatever just run the zone just to do it, not because they have the personnel for it.
Yeah, don't get me started on AAU and all that crap. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so speaking of man defense now, would you and this is you as a head coach someday, are you a pressure? Are you a force baseline? Are you a pack line? Are you just talk a little bit about your kind of maybe your personal philosophies or some things that you personally would like to see in your man defense.
I think you talk about defense and you talk about, okay, how are you going to stop the other team? Well, you want them to take tough shots every time down the court, right? And how do you get them to take tough shots? Well, hopefully you're sending them into, if you're guarding a really good driver, well, let's send them into, to some help. So my personal philosophy, when I become a head coach, it will be, okay, where's my help at? Let's send them that way. So if my help is to the baseline, well, I'll make sure I have all my guys communicating, talking. You'll never be, one thing that I absolutely hate is guys say, "Oh, you're by yourself." They always yell out, "You're by yourself." No, you should never be by yourself on the defensive end. Never. Like, why? Why? So, it would be a communication based type defense to where, okay, where's my help at? Let's kind of push him this way and let's get him to shoot a tough 2 every single time down the court. So, could it be forced baseline? Possibly. Could it be, putting them middle, making them go middle and got some help there? Could be. So it's, my vision and my philosophy, I think, might be a little different than most, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and that actually makes a lot of sense because basically what I'm hearing is that you're saying we'd be more straight up but heavy in help, because I've seen it go where and I'm a forced baseline, no middle, strict on it, but I think there's disadvantages there too, because it's hard to guard somebody and make them go baseline, right? You might say, oh, they go one dribble middle, you work hard, I got to cut them off, and now you're just giving it up, and we see that, but my philosophy is everyone's on the same page. The helper down in the hole, he knows that it's his help, the bottom of the eye. And so, even if we do get B baseline, we know how to rotate. For me, it simplifies it. But what about you, Alex? What would you say?
So I'm saying, like, I kind of preach 5-man rotations, force some baseline, rotate out of it. I know there's, we've talked about other ones like the X out rotation and stuff like that, but I personally just like the regular 5-man. I think once you get it down, I think it's the easiest to understand. And it's the easiest to get at least that initial help, just there's someone in the baseline, they're going to jump up and help you out. Getting the next 2 or 3 people to continue to rotate sometimes is in trouble, but most of the time I feel like if you cut them off baseline and you're decent enough at it, like you're going to stop a lot of those easy layups and you're going to force a lot of tough shots.
Yeah. And that's what we do here at Seattle. We're definitely that, pushing baseline and, make sure somebody's in the hole and, helping that way. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask both you guys, I'll start with you, Coach Kirby. As far as forcing baseline, would you say that if a player on your team this past season or next season gets beat middle, is he getting subbed out?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually the case. That's our rule. No middle. So, don't let him go middle. Do everything you can in your power to make sure he doesn't go middle. And if he does, well, there's consequences.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. But like I said, when I gave my little spiel, is that, yeah, there's some downside to that, right? Because players are really giving up that baseline at times. What about you, Alex?
I probably have a little bit more leash than both of you guys. Like I do, I'm not saying I'm going to allow it over and over and over again, but if it happens once, like I'll probably let it slide. But if you're continually getting beat middle, I'm going to find someone else, But it's like you said, the downside is if you're real quick on that leash is, if your player's going off for 15, 20 points and they get beat middle once and you yank them, you're like, I feel like I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot here. But I get it, because if you're also short on that leash, players are going to probably want to dig in and be like, all right, I'm not going to let anyone beat me middle because then I don't want to get out of the game. So I can see how that would be effective too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing about forcing baseline is, okay, and like with the 5-man rotation or however you're rotating, is the team's got to make quite a few good decisions in order to score. If you force them baseline and you do a good job helping and they kick out, okay, there's one good decision, right? You kicked it out when help came, and now you rotate onto that first pass and now they swing it one more. Okay, good decision. They rotate, you swing one more. If you're able to rotate onto that as well, and then they swing it one more and they keep moving the ball, to keep the advantage basically, then kudos to them, man. If you can do that at the high school level especially, then you're a good offensive team. Because normally it's like drive, we help, they kick it out once, we rotate onto that guy, and then they hold it. They're ball stoppers.
Yeah, or they just jack up a shot.
Or they just jack it up and try to keep, instead of keeping that advantage, those quick decisions. But anyways, all right. Well, hey, I think this was a great episode. I think we learned a few things. I think we got a little good insider view of what it's like to move up in the ranks as a college coach and to chase that dream. So I think that's about it, Coach Alex. Do you got any other things you wanted to add?
No, I think we pretty much hit everything. But thanks, Coach, for coming in and joining us. It's great always to have someone, especially with your like expertise and knowledge and background, to get on here with us because that's what this is all about. Is trying to learn and just talk to other people that have a lot of experience in the game, and obviously you do. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you guys for having me, man. And next time I'm in the Central Coast, let's hang out. Let's do something.
yeah,
So
gotta go hoop.
Yeah, definitely. All right, you guys. So that's all we got for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked today's episode and you're watching on YouTube, then make sure to hit the subscribe button. Or if you're listening on iTunes, make sure to subscribe there. We come out with a new episode once a week, and we hope to see you guys in the next one.
Peace.